The twin suns of Red Mesa hung low in the sky, casting long orange shadows over the dusty plains. The wind swept across the rocky surface, carrying clouds of red sand that danced like restless spirits. The planet was quiet, almost too quiet for anyone new to the frontier. Yet this desolation was exactly what drew Lena Hartley, a young engineer fresh out of the academy, to its barren lands. She had always dreamed of adventure, and Red Mesa, at the edge of human space, promised that and more. Lena's shuttle touched down with a soft hiss, sending small plumes of dust swirling around the landing pad. The outpost of Red Mesa Station was modest, a scattering of metal buildings, a small marketplace, and a landing bay that seemed too large for the few shuttles that came and went. She adjusted her backpack, feeling both excitement and nerves. For the first time, she was truly alone in the vast unknown. Her eyes scanned the horizon as she stepped out. The air was thin and dry, carrying a faint metallic tang from the nearby mining operations. She took a deep breath and felt the thrill of opportunity. This was the start of something greater. But before she could even set foot into the main settlement, she noticed him. Cole Anders, the outpost's security officer, stood near the central square, his tall frame outlined by the setting suns. He wore a long, worn coat that flapped in the wind, and his eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the horizon as though he could see trouble before it even arrived. There was a quiet authority about him. People in the outpost gave him space and respect, some even a nod or a smile when they passed, but no one dared approach uninvited. Lena had read about Cole in the station's personnel files, an experienced officer, decorated for bravery in several frontier skirmishes. But seeing him in person was different. He moved with an ease and confidence that made him seem larger than life. A man who belonged to Red Mesa as much as the dusty plains themselves. Before she could think of a proper introduction, a sharp alarm blared across the outpost. The air shimmered with tension. From the hills to the north, a cloud of dark shapes approached, mercenaries in powered suits, glinting under the twin suns. They moved with precision, their weapons trained on the settlement. Panic rippled through the market. Traders scrambled for cover. Children clung to their parents, and the miners abandoned their tools. Cole's voice cut through the chaos, calm but commanding. "Everyone to the shelters. Stay low. Do not engage unless necessary." Lena froze for a moment, her heart pounding, until instinct took over. She ran toward the nearest shelter, only to see one of the mercenaries breaking away from the main group. It was a large figure, its armored suit gleaming with alien technology. It charged toward the settlement's power generator, threatening to cut off the outpost from communication and life support. Cole moved like lightning. He sprinted across the open ground, his long coat trailing behind him. His hand went to the holster at his hip, and in a fluid motion, he drew his weapon, but he did not fire immediately. Instead, he waited, analyzed, and then, at the perfect moment, shot a tether that wrapped around the mercenary's legs, pulling him to the ground. Lena could hardly believe her eyes. The mercenary struggled, but Cole's grip was unyielding. He moved with precision, using the environment to his advantage. Dust clouds, broken rocks, and quick reflexes combined to give him the upper hand. Within moments, the attacker was incapacitated, and Cole had returned to the settlement without a scratch. A crowd of settlers had gathered at a safe distance, cheering. Lena, breathless, felt a spark of admiration she had never known. This man was more than the heroic figure in the files. He was real, capable, and utterly human. Yet his eyes, when they met hers for a brief second, held no arrogance. Only focus. Only duty. The outpost leaders hurried over, talking quickly to Cole about damages, casualties, and defenses. Lena lingered, unsure of what to do, until a voice spoke beside her. "You're new here, aren't you?" She turned to see Cole, his expression calm but curious. His voice was deep and steady, carrying authority without being harsh. Yes, Lena admitted. "I just arrived to start my apprenticeship at the mining station." He nodded, glancing toward the damaged generator. "Good. You picked an interesting time to arrive." Lena smiled nervously. "You could say that again." Cole studied her for a moment, as if measuring something. Then he said, "Stick close. Out here, things can get dangerous fast. And sometimes, danger doesn't wait for permission." Over the next few hours, Lena helped where she could, repairing minor damages and assisting engineers. Cole moved through the settlement like a shadow. Always alert. Always 2 steps ahead of trouble. Lena noticed the way children instinctively gravitated toward him, feeling safe in his presence. She understood why the settlers trusted him. They had seen him face danger without hesitation, always putting others first. As night fell, Red Mesa's twin moons rose over the horizon, casting a silver glow over the red landscape. The air was cooler now, and a quiet settled over the outpost. For a moment, Lena allowed herself to relax, watching the stars twinkle above. She could see why humans had chosen this world as a frontier. It was harsh, unforgiving, yet breathtaking in its beauty. Cole joined her, leaning on the rail of the observation deck. "You'll get used to it," he said quietly. "Or you won't. Out here, it's easy to get lost. Or worse." Lena turned to him, feeling a strange mix of fear and admiration. "I think I can handle it," she said. Cole gave a small, rare smile. "We'll see." They stood in silence for a while, watching the settlement below. The events of the day had forged a quiet understanding between them. Lena felt a pull she couldn't explain, a mixture of respect, admiration, and a sense of safety in his presence. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed from the landing bay. Lena turned, heart racing. Cole's eyes narrowed, scanning the horizon. "They'll be back," he said simply. "And next time, they won't come alone." A chill ran down Lena's spine, but it was mixed with excitement. She had dreamed of adventure her entire life. Now, it had found her, and she would face it alongside Cole, her protector, her guide, and the man who had already shown her what courage could look like. As the night deepened and the twin moons climbed higher, the outpost slept uneasily, guarded by a man whose skill and instinct made him almost unstoppable. Lena watched him, realizing that in this dangerous corner of space, humans had something no alien force could match: heart, courage, and the will to survive against all odds. And with that thought, she knew her life on Red Mesa had only just begun. The morning on Red Mesa was colder than Lena had expected. A thin frost dusted the red rocks, and the twin suns struggled to rise fully above the horizon. The outpost was quiet, but the tension from the previous day still lingered like a shadow. Lena woke early, eager to help and learn, but also nervous. She could feel that Red Mesa held secrets and dangers that she was only beginning to understand. Cole was already awake. She found him in the settlement's central square, checking the perimeter and speaking quietly with the few miners and engineers who had returned to work. His presence alone made people act faster, safer, more cautiously. He seemed to move with purpose, yet nothing about him was rushed. Lena watched him for a moment, fascinated by the calm confidence that seemed to radiate from him. "You're up early," Cole said without turning. His eyes scanned the horizon, sharp and alert. "I want to help," Lena replied, adjusting her backpack. "And I want to learn." He finally turned to her, giving a small nod. "Good. We'll need all the hands we can get. Things aren't over." Not by a long shot. Lena followed him to the communications tower, a tall structure of steel and wires at the edge of the settlement. The view from the top was breathtaking. She could see the barren plains stretching endlessly, broken only by jagged rock formations and the distant hills where the mercenaries had first appeared. Cole tapped a small panel, bringing up a holographic map. Red dots blinked across it, sensor readings from the outpost's perimeter. A few were malfunctioning. Some showed faint heat signatures far beyond the hills. "They're not gone," he said quietly. "The mercenaries yesterday. They were just scouts. Something bigger is coming. Something stronger." Lena felt a chill run through her. "Bigger?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Alien. Advanced tech. Not like the mercenaries. This is a species called the Zytherians. They've been watching human colonies for years. We think they want Red Mesa's terraforming technology. Terraforming technology? Lena repeated. She had studied it in school but had never seen it in action. Yes, Cole said. If they control it, they can manipulate the planet's environment, making it habitable for them, but deadly for humans. We can't let that happen. Lena swallowed hard. The danger was real now. It wasn't just mercenaries or random attacks, it was a strategic threat from a species far more advanced than humans. But as she looked at Cole, she felt something else. Determination. He didn't flinch, didn't panic. Humans may be weaker in numbers or technology, but Cole's presence made it clear that courage and intelligence could balance the scales. We need to prepare, he continued. And you'll need to learn quickly. Out here, ingenuity can be stronger than brute force. For the next few hours, Lena shadowed Cole as he checked defenses and trained other settlers. He demonstrated strategies to use the terrain against enemies, how to set traps with minimal resources, and ways to outthink a technologically superior opponent. Lena absorbed every word, fascinated by the way Cole combined instinct with careful planning. Later, he led her to the workshop, a cluttered room filled with tools, spare parts, and partially assembled devices. You'll need to understand the tech, he said. It's not just about fighting, it's about thinking. Human brains are our greatest weapon. Lena nodded eagerly. She spent hours studying small drones, sensor arrays, and defensive turrets, repairing broken circuits and improving designs. Cole watched silently, offering advice when needed, but mostly letting her discover solutions on her own. You learn fast, he said finally, after she managed to recalibrate a turret to detect heat signatures more accurately. I want to be useful, Lena replied. You are, Cole said. More than you know. But usefulness isn't just about skill. It's about courage. About knowing when to act and when to think. Don't forget that. As the sun climbed higher, the ground trembled faintly. A distant hum reached their ears, a sound unnatural and mechanical. Cole's eyes narrowed. Zytherians, he said quietly. They're moving closer. The settlers felt it too. Anxiety rippled through the settlement like a wave. For a moment, panic threatened to take over. But Cole's presence steadied them. He organized watch shifts, ensured supplies were ready, and mapped potential escape routes. Lena helped distribute communication devices and emergency kits. Every action was purposeful, calculated, and efficient. That evening, as the twin suns began to set, Cole took Lena to a quiet spot outside the settlement. You've done well today, he said, his voice softer than usual. But tomorrow, it could get worse, much worse. Lena looked at him, concern etched on her face. I'll be ready. I want to help. Cole studied her for a long moment, as if weighing something. Then he said, You have heart. That counts for a lot. The Zytherians underestimate humans. That's their mistake. Our brains, our instincts. That's why we survive. That's why we fight back when all odds are against us. Lena nodded, feeling a strange mix of fear and excitement. There was danger in every word, yet a spark of hope too. Humans were small, fragile in some ways, but their courage, their cleverness, could turn the tide. And she would fight beside Cole, the man who had already shown her what bravery looked like. Night fell, bringing with it an uneasy silence. Stars blanketed the sky, and Red Mesa's twin moons rose, casting a soft silver glow over the outpost. Lena and Cole returned to the settlement, where the colonists were quietly preparing for the worst. The air was thick with tension, but there was also unity. Humans had faced dangers before, and under Cole's leadership, they would face them again. Suddenly, the sensors blared. Red lights flashed across the holographic map. The Zytherians had arrived, dozens of ships appearing on the horizon, their engines glowing faintly under the twin moons. Lena's heart raced, but she didn't move. Cole was already at her side, calm and focused. This is it, he said. Remember everything I taught you. Trust your mind. Trust your instincts. And trust me. Lena swallowed hard. I do. Cole gave a small, rare smile. Good. Because humans are about to show them why we survive when everyone else doubts us. The Zytherian ships hovered just above the plains, scanning the outpost. Their technology was superior, far beyond anything humans had. But Lena saw something else. She saw fear. Not in the aliens, but in herself. And how Cole's presence steadied her. Humans may not have had the strongest weapons, but they had creativity, courage, and the will to fight for their home. Cole turned to her one last time. Stay close, watch, learn, act, and remember, humans are unpredictable. That's our edge. The first night of the battle had not yet begun. But the frontier of Red Mesa was alive, with tension, courage, and the promise of an epic struggle. Lena knew that her life, and the fate of the settlement, would change forever. As they prepared for the incoming storm, Lena realized that she had chosen the right place, at the right time. Adventure had found her. Danger had found her. And alongside Cole, she would meet it head-on. The Zytherians had underestimated humans, and soon they would learn why resilience, courage, and ingenuity were weapons no technology could overcome. And as the twin moons bathed the settlement in silver light, Lena felt the thrill of the frontier, the pulse of danger, and the heartbeat of something far greater than herself. A story was unfolding and she was ready to play her part. The twin suns of Red Mesa had barely risen, casting long shadows over the settlement, when the first signs of movement appeared on the horizon. The Zytherian ships hovered silently, their engines humming like distant thunder. Dust swirled in their wake, revealing glimpses of advanced machinery and armored drones ready to strike. The settlers were tense, but Cole moved among them with calm authority, issuing orders with precision. Barricade the main entrances, he commanded. Check all communication lines, keep civilians inside. And remember, watch your angles. They will try to confuse us with numbers and speed. Lena followed him, carrying a pack of emergency tools. Her hands were steady, but her heart raced. This was the moment she had been preparing for. Yet fear still lingered beneath her excitement. She remembered Cole's words. Humans are unpredictable. That's our edge. Today, she would see just how true that could be. The first wave of drones descended onto the plains, their metallic bodies glinting in the sunlight. They moved with precision, scanning for weaknesses. But they were not human. They could not anticipate the cunning and adaptability of the settlers. Cole positioned himself on a ridge overlooking the settlement. From this vantage point, he could see the enemy approaching from all sides. Beside him, Lena adjusted a small turret she had recalibrated the day before, ensuring it would detect heat signatures accurately. Ready? Cole asked, his eyes never leaving the horizon. I'm ready, Lena said. Good. Stay focused. Remember what you've learned. The drones advanced, and the settlers began their countermeasures. Simple traps, hidden pits, and camouflaged barriers slowed the enemy's progress. Lena's turret activated, sending pulses of energy to mark and track incoming units. The humans were outnumbered, but Cole had taught them to fight smart, not hard. As the first drones reached the outer defenses, Cole gave a sharp whistle. The settlers sprang into action, luring the drones into narrow passages where their numbers became a disadvantage. Lena watched as Cole moved among them, striking with precision, redirecting forces, and inspiring confidence with every command. He was like a conductor, orchestrating a symphony of survival. A particularly large drone broke through one of the barricades, moving toward the settlement's generator. Lena's heart leapt into her throat. Without thinking, she activated a secondary pulse from her turret, sending a concentrated burst that disoriented the machine. Sparks flew, and the drone stumbled, giving Cole the opportunity to strike. He leapt from the ridge, landing with a roll and firing a tether that wrapped around the drone's legs, pulling it down. The settlers cheered from behind the safety of their barricades. Lena felt a surge of pride. Her training had worked, and humans had gained the upper hand, at least for now. The battle continued, wave after wave of drones pushing toward the settlement. Cole's strategy relied on patience, adaptation, and knowledge of the terrain. He used the ridges, canyons, and rocky outcrops to create choke points, forcing the enemy into predictable paths. The settlers followed his lead, moving quickly and efficiently. Even Lena found herself improvising, creating small diversions and using tools to trip or disable drones. During a brief lull, Cole and Lena took cover behind a rocky outcrop. Sweat streaked her face, and her arms ached from constant work. But her spirit burned brighter than ever. "You're doing well," Cole said, glancing at her. "Keep your head, keep moving. That's what will save you." "I'm learning from the best," Lena replied, a small smile breaking through the tension. Cole allowed himself a rare grin. "Don't forget, brains beat brawn when you're outnumbered. That's why humans survive. That's why we fight back." The Zytherians, for all their technology, underestimated the settlers' ingenuity. Drones were lured into traps, disabled by simple but effective devices, or forced to collide with one another in tight spaces. Each human action, guided by Cole's leadership, compounded into a surprising advantage. The alien forces were strong, but predictable. And humans? Humans were unpredictable. As the sun reached its zenith, a larger threat appeared. A massive Zytherian drone, taller and stronger than the others, moved toward the heart of the settlement. Its armored plating reflected sunlight, and it carried weapons that could obliterate a building in seconds. The settlers froze, unsure how to stop it. Cole acted immediately. "Lena, the pulse turret. Aim at the generator's output lines. Create an overload. It might distract the drone long enough for me to get close." Lena's hands shook, but she obeyed. The turret hummed to life, sending a high-energy pulse toward the generator. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the massive drone paused, confused by the sudden surge. Cole sprinted forward, weaving between debris and fallen drones. He reached the giant machine, deploying a tether, and climbing it like a seasoned climber. Sparks and smoke filled the air, but he moved with precision, dismantling key components until the drone collapsed in a heap. The settlers erupted in cheers. Lena breathed heavily, exhilarated by the victory. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and yet they had survived and even defeated the superior machine. By the time the Zytherians retreated, the settlement had sustained minor damage, but no lives were lost. Cole gathered the settlers, praising their ingenuity and courage. "Today, you fought smart. You showed that humans are strong not because of machines, but because of your mind, your heart, and your spirit. That is something no alien can predict or defeat." Lena felt a surge of pride. She had faced real danger and survived, not because of raw strength, but because she had trusted her instincts and learned from Cole. She realized now what he had meant about human unpredictability. That night, the settlers gathered around a small fire in the central square, sharing stories, laughter, and relief. Cole stood a little apart, keeping watch, his eyes scanning the horizon even as others relaxed. Lena approached him, carrying a cup of warm tea. "You did amazing today," she said softly. Cole nodded, accepting the cup. "You did too. Today proved that humans can stand against odds that seem impossible. And you're learning fast." Lena smiled. "I couldn't have done it without you." Cole looked at her, his expression serious but kind. "You don't give yourself enough credit. You think, adapt, and act. That's why humans survive. That's why Red Mesa is still standing." For the first time, Lena felt a deep connection, not just to Cole, but to humanity itself. Out here on the frontier, away from the comforts of Earth, she understood the truth. Humans were more than fragile bodies or limited numbers. They were inventive, courageous, and capable of achieving the impossible when united. The twin moons rose over the horizon, casting silver light on the outpost. Cole stood with Lena, looking out at the plains where the Zytherian ships had retreated. "They'll be back," he said quietly. "Stronger. Smarter. They always are." but so are we. Remember that. I will, Lena replied. She felt a mix of fear and excitement, knowing that each challenge made them stronger. And I'll be ready. Cole placed a hand on her shoulder. Good. Because humans are not just survivors. We are fighters, inventors, and protectors. And now, you are one of us. As the settlers settled for the night, Lena looked up at the stars. The battle had tested them, but it had also proven something important. Humans could face impossible odds and win. They had courage, brains, and the will to survive. And with Cole by her side, Lena knew that she could face whatever challenges came next. Red Mesa was safe, for now. But the frontier was never truly quiet. Tomorrow would bring new trials, new dangers, and new chances to prove that humans were unpredictable, clever, and unyielding. And Lena would be ready because she had learned from the best, and because she now understood what it truly meant to be human on the edge of the galaxy. The aftermath of the Zytherian attack left Red Mesa in a tense but hopeful silence. Settlers moved through the streets repairing minor damages, sharing supplies, and tending to those shaken by the battle. For Lena, the day began with a restless energy she could not shake. She had faced danger, survived, and discovered the limits of her courage, but questions still lingered in her mind. Who was Cole, really? How did one man manage to inspire a whole settlement to stand against an alien force? She found him on the edge of the settlement, near a rocky plateau overlooking the Red Plains. Cole's posture was relaxed but alert, his eyes scanning the horizon even as he allowed himself a moment of solitude. Lena approached cautiously. "You're up early," he said, not turning. His voice carried the calm authority that had defined him since the day she met him. "I couldn't sleep," Lena admitted. I wanted to understand. How did you get so good at this? How do you keep calm when everything is falling apart?" Cole turned slowly, giving her a long, measured look. "Experience," he said simply. "And a lot of loss." Lena frowned. "Loss?" He nodded, his expression darkening. "I was part of a human special forces unit. We were stationed on colonies at the edges of human space, defending them from alien attacks. Not all of us came back. Some of my friends, they didn't survive. I carry that with me. It's why I do what I do here. I protect those who can't defend themselves, so others don't have to pay the price we did." Lena felt a chill run through her. She had known Cole was capable, but she had never imagined the weight he carried. That's a lot to carry alone," Cole shrugged. "It's the job. Someone has to make sure humanity survives, even when the odds are against us. That's why I stay here. Red Mesa is small, isolated, and vulnerable. If I can train others, if I can teach humans to think, adapt, and survive, then we have a chance." Lena felt a deep respect and admiration for him, mingled with something she hadn't expected: warmth, safety, and a connection that went beyond mentorship. "I want to learn from you," she said softly. "I want to help protect this place, like you do." Cole studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. But remember, skill is only part of it. You need courage, patience, and the ability to think under pressure. Humans survive because of these qualities, not just weapons or machines. Are you ready to truly test yourself?" "I am," Lena replied without hesitation. Cole led her to a small training ground at the outskirts of the settlement. Rocks had been arranged to simulate obstacles, and old machinery created challenges for navigation and strategy. He handed her a simple scanner and a pack of tools. "Today, you learn to anticipate, adapt, and act. The Zytherians will come again. When they do, it won't be the same as before. You must be prepared." They spent hours together, running simulations and improvising strategies. Cole watched her closely, offering advice, corrections, and encouragement. Lena discovered that she could think on her feet, find solutions, and react quickly to changing circumstances. Each success, no matter how small, built her confidence. By afternoon, Lena was exhausted but exhilarated. Cole finally gestured toward the horizon. Good work. You've learned more in a day than most settlers learn in a week. But there's one last lesson. Cole. Lena followed him to a rocky outcrop, where the sun cast long shadows over the plains. Cole pulled out a small communicator, scanning frequencies and monitoring signals from the surrounding region. The Zytherians are not just here for technology, he said quietly. They want humans to fear them. They want us to surrender without a fight. But humans, we don't surrender. That's why they underestimate us. They think numbers and tech can defeat courage and ingenuity. They're wrong. Lena nodded, understanding the weight of his words. Humans were small, fragile, and often outnumbered, but they had something no alien technology could replicate: unpredictability, creativity, and the will to survive. As the evening approached, a faint signal appeared on the monitor. Cole's eyes narrowed. Zytherian scouts. They're closer than I expected. Lena's pulse quickened. What do we do? Cole's voice was steady. We prepare. And we use what we've learned. Humans survive when they adapt. We use our brains, our instincts, and our courage. That's what makes us strong. They returned to the settlement, where preparations were already underway. Barricades were reinforced, sensors recalibrated, and communication lines checked. Cole moved among the settlers, giving guidance, encouragement, and reassurance. Lena assisted him, directing workers and managing defensive devices. That night, as the twin moons rose over Red Mesa, Lena and Cole stood together on the observation deck. Below them, the settlement glowed with lights and quiet activity. Settlers moved with purpose, ready for whatever might come next. Cole spoke quietly. You've done well today, Lena. You're ready for what comes next. I hope so, Lena replied. I feel different, stronger. I understand now why humans survive, even when everything seems impossible. Cole's expression softened. That's the truth. Humans are clever, brave, and persistent. And when we fight together, we can achieve what others think is impossible. For a moment, silence fell between them. The wind carried the scent of dust and distant rocks. Lena felt a sense of connection, not just to Cole, but to humanity itself. She realized that survival was more than skill or strength. It was courage, intelligence, and the bonds between people who refused to give up. Suddenly, a faint rumble shook the ground. Cole's eyes sharpened. They're coming, he said. Prepare yourself. Remember everything you've learned. Stay calm. Trust your mind, your instincts, and your team. Humans survive because we are unpredictable. And that will be our advantage. Lena's hands tightened around her tools. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement, knowing that the next challenge would test everything she had learned. But she was ready. She had trained, she had learned, and she had Cole by her side. Together, they would face the threat, and humanity would endure. The settlement braced for the next wave. Scouts appeared on the horizon, advanced drones with glowing eyes and alien technology. But the humans of Red Mesa were ready. Barricades were in place, turrets monitored the plains, and settlers moved with purpose. Lena adjusted her position, scanning the area and monitoring sensors. Cole moved beside her, calm and focused. Stay alert. Watch. Think. Act. Humans survive when we adapt. That's why we are dangerous to those who underestimate us. The scouts approached cautiously, testing defenses. Lena activated her turret, tracking heat signatures and sending alerts to the settlers. The humans reacted swiftly, using terrain, traps, and strategy to gain the advantage. As the first drones reached the barricades, Lena felt a surge of confidence. She remembered Cole's lessons, his guidance, and the truth he had shared. Humans survive through ingenuity, courage, and determination. The drones faltered, confused by traps and unpredictable tactics. Humans moved quickly, striking with precision and avoiding unnecessary risk. Lena adjusted her strategies on the fly, coordinating with settlers and using every tool at her disposal. Cole observed her, pride evident in his eyes. "You've learned well. Today, you're not just an apprentice, you're a protector. That is what makes humans strong. That is why we endure." As the night deepened, the scouts retreated, leaving the settlement intact. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Lena looked at Cole, realizing that he carried not just skill and courage, but a deep sense of responsibility for every life in Red Mesa. She understood why she admired him, and why she trusted him implicitly. For the first time, Lena felt a profound connection to her role as a human defender. She was no longer just a newcomer or a learner. She was part of a team, part of a legacy, and part of a force that could stand against impossible odds. Cole placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've done well today. Remember this feeling. The next challenge will come, and we will meet it together. Humans survive because we are clever, adaptable, and brave. Never forget that." Lena nodded, feeling the weight and the thrill of her new reality. She had discovered the strength within herself and the extraordinary capability of humanity. And as the twin moons cast their silver light over Red Mesa, she knew that she was ready to face whatever the frontier and the Zetherians would bring next. The twin suns of Red Mesa were barely above the horizon when the alarm blared across the settlement. Scouts had spotted the Zetherian fleet returning, larger and more advanced than before. The humans of Red Mesa, now battle-hardened and trained, sprang into action. Cole Anders moved among them with calm authority, issuing orders and adjusting strategies. Beside him, Lena Hartley prepared her tools, her pulse steady despite the tension in the air. "This is it," Cole said, his voice low but firm. "They're not just testing us anymore. This is a full assault. But remember what we've learned. Humans survive because we are clever, adaptable, and brave. Stay sharp, trust your mind, and trust each other." Lena nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. She had come a long way since her arrival on Red Mesa. From a nervous newcomer, she had grown into a capable protector, learning from Cole and discovering her own courage. Today would test everything she had learned. The Zetherian fleet hovered above the plains, their ships glinting in the twin suns' light. Advanced drones and heavily armored machines descended toward the settlement, their technology clearly superior to anything the humans possessed. But Cole had prepared for this. Barricades, traps, and defensive turrets were strategically positioned, and the settlers themselves had learned to move, think, and act as one. "Remember," Cole shouted to the gathered settlers, "don't just react. Think. Adapt. Use the terrain. Use your brains. We're humans, unpredictable, clever, and unstoppable when we work together." The battle began with a wave of drones rushing the outer defenses. Lena activated her turret, tracking heat signatures and sending alerts. Settlers maneuvered traps that funneled the drones into narrow paths, where their numbers became a disadvantage. Lena adjusted her strategy on the fly, directing defensive fire and coordinating with others. Cole moved through the chaos like a shadow, striking at key targets, dismantling advanced drones, and inspiring confidence in the settlers. He was everywhere at once, yet never reckless, every action deliberate, every decision calculated. Lena watched him and understood the depth of his experience. He was not just a fighter. He was a protector, a teacher, and a leader. The Zetherians escalated their attack, sending massive war machines toward the heart of the settlement. The ground shook under their weight, and a few settlers panicked. Cole's voice cut through the fear. "Focus. Use your minds, not just your weapons. Remember, humans are unpredictable." Lena spotted a weak point in one of the machines. Using a makeshift tether device she had improvised, she directed a pulse toward its control circuits. Sparks flew, and the machine faltered, buying precious time for Cole and the settlers to act. Cole seized the moment, deploying tethers, climbing the machine, and disabling critical components. The massive war machine toppled, crashing to the ground with a metallic roar. The settlers cheered, a wave of hope rippling through the outpost. Despite the success, more drones pressed forward. Lena and Cole coordinated with the settlers, creating decoys, setting traps, and using the terrain to their advantage. The humans were outnumbered, but they fought smart, using strategy, teamwork, and ingenuity to turn the tide. Hours passed, and the battle raged on. The Zytherians unleashed their most advanced drones, yet the humans adapted, anticipating movements and exploiting weaknesses. Lena's confidence grew with each success. She moved quickly, directing turrets, guiding settlers, and thinking 3 steps ahead. Cole noticed her skill and nodded approvingly. "You've learned well, Lena. Today, you're not just helping, you're leading. That is what makes humans strong." The tide began to turn. One by one, Zytherian machines were disabled, trapped, or forced to retreat. Human ingenuity and courage proved stronger than brute force. Cole and Lena worked seamlessly, their teamwork a perfect balance of strategy and action. Finally, the Zytherian fleet signaled retreat. Ships lifted off the plains, leaving behind their fallen machines and a battered but intact settlement. The humans had won. Red Mesa had survived. The settlers erupted in cheers, hugging each other, celebrating their victory, and praising Cole and Lena. Exhausted but exhilarated, Lena watched as Cole addressed the crowd. "Today," he said, his voice carrying over the cheers, "humans have shown that we survive not because of strength alone, but because of courage, ingenuity, and unity. We adapt. We endure. We protect one another. That is what makes us strong." Lena felt a surge of pride and joy. She had faced danger, learned from the best, and helped protect the settlement. She understood now that survival was not just about fighting, it was about thinking, adapting, and standing together. Humans were remarkable, and she was proud to be part of that legacy. Later, as the twin moons rose over Red Mesa, casting silver light on the settlement, Lena and Cole stood on the observation deck. The plains were quiet, the battle over, and the settlers were safe for now. "You did amazing today," Cole said quietly, looking at her. "You too," Lena replied. I couldn't have done it without you." Cole shook his head. "No. You could have. You thought, adapted, and acted when it mattered most. That's what makes humans strong. That's why Red Mesa stands. That's why we survive." For a long moment, they watched the twin moons, reflecting on the battle and the quiet beauty of the frontier. Lena realized how much she had grown not just in skill, but in courage, confidence, and understanding of humanity. Red Mesa had faced impossible odds, yet humans had prevailed. Cole's leadership, combined with the settlers' ingenuity and determination, had turned the tide against a technologically superior enemy, and Lena had discovered her own strength, proving that even a single human could make a difference when guided by courage and intelligence. "Tomorrow," Cole said, breaking the silence, "we rebuild, we strengthen, and we prepare. The frontier is never quiet. But together, humans can face anything." Lena smiled, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known. "I'll be ready," she said. "For whatever comes next." Cole nodded, a rare smile on his face. "Good. Because humans are not just survivors. We are fighters, inventors, and protectors. And now, you are one of us." As the night deepened, the settlers celebrated quietly, sharing stories and laughter, knowing they had survived because of courage, ingenuity, and unity. Lena stood beside Cole, feeling safe, proud, and connected not just to him, but to humanity itself. Red Mesa was safe. Humans had triumphed. And as the twin moons bathed the settlement in silver light, Lena knew that this was only the beginning of her journey. The frontier was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges, but humans, unpredictable and resilient, would endure. The horizon glowed with the first light of dawn, painting the red plains in shades of gold and orange. Cole and Lena watched silently, a quiet understanding passing between them. The battle had been won, but the frontier demanded vigilance, courage, and wisdom. And together, humans would face whatever came next undaunted, unstoppable, and unyielding. Red Mesa had become a symbol of human ingenuity and spirit. Against superior forces, against fear and uncertainty, they had prevailed. And in that triumph, Lena understood something fundamental. Humans were more than capable, more than strong, they were extraordinary. With the twin suns rising higher, the frontier stretched endlessly before them, full of dangers, challenges, and possibilities. But for Lena, Cole, and the settlers of Red Mesa, the future was theirs to shape. Together, they had proven that humans, clever and courageous, could face the impossible and prevail. And so, with hope in their hearts and determination in their souls, the humans of Red Mesa began a new day, ready for whatever the vast frontier of space could throw at them next.